can I move my legs? I felt like no one believed me. They looked at me like I was a young, healthy girl, and they gave me a list of excuses that really put the ownership and the blame of this pain on me. Strengthen your core, don't do what hurts. You just are left feeling like, what can I do? Like, what can I do? Like, I can't. I'm Carol, and welcome to my story time. I want to share my story of chronic lower back pain, which what I know now is from degenerative disc disease. I would love to impart a few things I've learned along this 12-year journey that hopefully you can implement in your life sooner than I did, if possible. So the beginning is I first started experiencing lower back pain at the age of 18, almost 19. At the time, I was actually majoring in dance, so I was participating in a lot of movement. I was strength training, doing lots of cardio, and taking 2 to 3 dance classes per day, and usually an evening rehearsal as well. So I was very active, and on my Christmas break, I was preparing to go skiing. I lifted a suitcase and something didn't feel right. I immediately lay down the floor. Let's just lay here and, I'll do some gentle stretching and then I'll get up. And so I did that. And that was really the beginning of a multi-year series of throwing my back out and having sciatic pain. It primarily lived in my left rear end. Then I went back to school. I continued dancing, and I immediately noticed that I was having to compensate for this pain on my left side. I ended up breaking 2 toes that semester, which I do think probably had a lot to do with my center of gravity shifting, my changes, and how I was having to move around. Yeah, I had done a million pirouettes in my life, but yeah, this one time, a couple toes caught, broke them. I was no stranger to pain. I'm no stranger to like pushing through pain, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like when you're suffering, that's your business. Maybe you can complain outwardly, but likelihood is no one is there to help you. You just have to, push on. That summer, I went and saw a sports medicine doctor who gave me my first cortisone shot and prescribed me physical therapy. I completed the rounds of physical therapy. I still had sciatic pain. I wasn't getting better. And I made a very difficult decision at that point that being a dance major probably wasn't the right path for me, which is another kind of blow. That's something I lost. I lost this passion for this thing that had been a part of my life since I was 3 years old. I was in physical pain, and yeah, no one around me seemed to care. No one really gets, especially when you're young. Or you know what? I'm gonna take that back. Maybe no one ever gets it up ever until they've actually experienced it, because oh my God, it's awful. We get through college. I wouldn't call it unscathed, but the sciatic pain is controllable in terms of like, I'm not letting it limit me. I just realized, okay, I can't kayak. I can't do the rowing machine. I'm not gonna do things that I know kind of irritate it. And that tended to be the advice I got from professionals constantly was, well, don't do the thing that irritates it. Well, sir or ma'am, I don't even know what irritates it in the moment, because a lot of times I'm strong, like I can do what I wanna do, but I pay for it later. So learning what those triggers were was a learning curve that seemed to be a moving target. I did have a bit of a period of reprieve from back pain in my early 20s. I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, in retrospect, was that a great idea? I think my degenerative disc disease is genetic. I don't think it is based on my history of activity per se. Maybe some things accelerated deterioration, but I think this was just the path I was born to walk down. So I did train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for quite a few years, but that journey also came to an end because of back pain. I was in so much pain in the evenings after class that I could hardly get out of my car. I transitioned into wearing only slip-on shoes. My pain is primarily a forward motion type of pain. So you can think washing your face at a sink, brushing your teeth at a sink, putting on shoes, putting on boots, anything that kind of requires that forward flexion. Sitting became problematic. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, forward flexion is where my body said no. 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of physical therapy. And this is all at my expense, right? Like I am dishing out the cash for this. Totally sucks and really feels like a waste of money. It wasn't helping me get better. But you know, they're just dishing out like the same old advice that they've been told to give. And I think if you've ever been in the position I've been, where you're like a young, fit, active person, when you start to get advice like lose weight, strengthen your core, don't do what hurts, you just are left feeling like, what can I do? Like, what can I do? I really started adjusting my activity level, primarily doing yoga and weight training. But even yoga, I was finding like they always want you to go into chair pose. I'll put it in a chair. That didn't work for my forward motion. Sun salutations, like I could do them, but I had to walk my hands down my leg. And I just felt leaving each class really unsatisfied. And so there was like a decline in my joy in movement. Fast forward again, I'm feeling kind of confident in myself, not full belief in my back and its ability to support me, but I'm feeling like, you know, I'm very strong, like I can do things. And I made the critical error of carrying a bag of mulch, and it was game over. I carried the bag of mulch. Nothing came of it in the moment, but a handful of hours later, I was sitting at a restaurant with a girlfriend, and I felt this lava explosion go up the column of my spine, like, pew! And I think I blacked out for a second. Like, I think my vision went dark. I just remember being like this, like, am I alive? Did I just have like an aneurysm? Like, I had no idea what happened. Now I think what happened is my disc ruptured. I felt this like lava-like pain, and I felt like, okay, I mean, I literally checked. I was like, I didn't pee myself. Cool. So I'm not incontinent. I can feel I wiggled my toes. I can feel my toes. I can feel my fingers. Can I move my legs? And I realized I could move them, but my strength was gone. And so to get myself out of the chair, I thought, okay, maybe if I stand up, you know, things will readjust and I'll feel better. So using my hands and my upper body strength, which is not that great, pushed myself up to standing, and I realized something was very wrong. In retrospect, this is where I would give you some advice. In retrospect, I should have gone to the hospital. I probably should have called an ambulance. I called my ex, and he took an Uber down to the restaurant, got my car, you know, so he could drive me home. And so he drove me home, about 10, 12-minute drive. By the time we got home, I could not get out of the car. He had to come help me. Everything was painful. I was walking like half an inch at a time, like a shuffle. And there are a handful of steps to get into my house. And that was quite an event. And so, having been someone who suffered with chronic lower back pain, I didn't take this event as seriously in the moment as I should have, which is I should have gone to the hospital. So my advice is, if you experience a lava-like 50 out of 10 pain, even for a moment, just go to the hospital. Like, the worst thing that's gonna happen is you spend some money that you didn't wanna spend. But in the best case scenario, I probably would have gotten to see a doctor sooner. I probably would have had an MRI to see what was happening. And I would have been given pain medication that would have just like helped me breathe. Instead, I went home and just suffered. I went home and I had a very large ice pack in the freezer, like a full length ice pack, which I'm guessing you own as well, because everyone with back pain has a big ice pack. And big mistake. Here's another place you can learn from my mistake. I laid it on the floor. One of my biggest regrets in life. I laid it on the floor, not on my bed, not on a hard surface. I should, honestly guys, I should have laid it on my dining room table. I laid it on the floor of my kitchen and I plopped down. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna ice my back, something, you know, remember broken toes? Like, I've been here before. I know what pain is. I immediately popped 4 Advil, to take 100 milligrams of Advil, and 2 extra strength Tylenol, laid on the ground, and girl, I did not get up. Every time I tried to get myself up, excruciating pain, like blackout could throw up pain. I did not know my body could create this level of it's not discomfort, it's torture. Like, I didn't know. I did not know. And it actually scares me so much now to know that that can happen. Because good God, if it happened again, I would call an ambulance. That's not what happened. So here I am laying on the floor, smearing, not venlafaxine, what's it called? I'll insert the name of here. A few days after that event, my dad called his physical therapist, and he, you know, kind of saw me immediately and did some dry needling with, he had the machine. So he put the needle in and then he hooked it to a machine. So instead of a manual dry needling process, he had this like, you know, vibrating thing. That actually helped a lot. It took me from only being able to maybe move forward this much to being able to move forward like this much, where right now I can move forward like this. So it wasn't like it cured me, but it was definitely helpful in that spasm problem I was having. So that would be another piece of advice. If you go into spasm like that, a physical therapist who can do dry needling can really, really help alleviate that immediate, intense problem that you're having. And so throughout 2020 and 2021, as you know, we were going through the global pandemic. So I went to working from home, and by working from home, I went to working horizontal. I spent probably 20 to 22 hours of every day horizontal, lying on a heating pad, working from my back, not in a sexual way, but I was a sales engineer, so I was doing software demos. It kind of reached a critical point where I realized, okay, if this pandemic thing wraps up and like people want to go out to restaurants again or travel again, this is not gonna work. And so I started seeing doctors. So I sort of just thought like doctors could be trusted. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying they're not all created equal. They're not all privy to the same information and the same advances in medicine, and they're not all reading the exact same journal articles. So it would behoove you to see more than one doctor. So during the pandemic, I was on the hunt for the right doctor. As I mentioned, I saw multiple physiatrists, multiple neurosurgeons, and an orthopedic surgeon. All of those doctors I saw with an MRI. The first of those doctors was a physiatrist who was at Emory, and the way they kind of sort you into, are you going to see a surgeon or are you going to see a physiatrist, is do you have tingling or pain down your leg? And my pain was all very concentrated in this kind of like left side of my spine. And so the answer was no. So they sent me to the physiatrist. She explained to me, this pretty young, let's say late 30s woman, very thin woman, explained to me that I needed to lose weight, that, you know, she once kind of bothered her back putting a suitcase up, and like, you know, she had to do some stretching and whatever. And I remember feeling so insulted. Like, what about the way I just poured my heart out to you makes it, you think it's appropriate to compare it to one time you sort of tweaked your back? Like, this is what I'm telling you. Like, I am making this video, I'm putting it all out here because if you found yourself in a situation like I found myself in this level of pain, I know how stupid people are. How insulting their silly comments can be, and how really just diminished you can feel. The luck I had in the moment was my ex was with me, and you know, that relationship didn't work out, and that's a whole other story. But the gift he did give me was, he saw what I was suffering with. He knew that her response was inappropriate, and he actually felt angry for me. So if you're watching this video because you know someone who suffers from chronic pain, you know, take his lead. He really showed me a great kindness by acknowledging the pain I was in and proactively trying, because like that's all you can do until you find the thing that works. So I saw 3 physiatrists, 3 orthopedic surgeons, and no, 1 orthopedic surgeon and 2 spinal surgeons, neurosurgeons. And it took that many, not doctor's visits, seeing those doctors. So I saw some of those doctors more than once. It took all of that, plus of course getting an MRI, to finally find, it was actually a physiatrist who recommended Intracept. Intracept at the time was not covered by medical insurance. It is luckily now covered by most medical insurance. So if you are experiencing pain from degenerative disc disease, I'm going to explain it a little bit further, but if that's the pain you're experiencing, when I say it changed my life, like I could cry. It didn't change my life, it gave me a life. I was not going to have one. I was going to spend my days horizontal. I was not going to be able to have children. I wasn't able at the time to take my dog on walks. I could hardly walk. I couldn't do most exercise. The most exercise I did was, and we're going to talk about this, I swam laps, I did Pilates. These were saviors to my mental health. Because I was on every kind of drug, gabapentin, all different sorts of steroids, things that really like destroy your soul to try to help with this pain, and nothing was helping. So this is my spine. I have degenerative disc disease, so through, no fault of my own, genes, I have deteriorated discs. These discs, a couple doctors told me, oh, if you told me this was like a 70 or 80-year-old person, it wouldn't surprise me. Cool. No, that was my spine at 27. Because of this disc degeneration, I've also had degeneration of my spine, the actual vertebra of my spine. And so this is called a modic change. It's visible in a MRI, which is fabulous. And so this fuzziness that you can see is the degeneration of my spine. And that's actually what was causing the extreme pain I was going through. These locking up of my muscles going into like survival mode, where I was having horrible spasms. If I sneezed, it felt like a lightning bolt struck me. I could walk at a snail's pace. I could not sit in a car with any amount of comfort. When I would drive to Pilates or drive to the swimming pool, which were both about 10-minute drives from my home, by the time I got there, it was a real struggle to get out of my vehicle. Once we found out Intracept was not covered by insurance, they sent me down another path, which was to try epidurals. I had 3 epidurals, I believe, or 4 epidural injections while I waited for Intracept to move forward, which was like almost 8 months. And this is, again, a place I would say, please learn from my mistake. If you have modic changes that are visible in your MRI, talk to your physiatrist or your neurosurgeon or whoever you're working with. Those epidurals do nothing. I don't know who they help. They never helped me. They weren't for me. It was a wait. I mean, that was 8 months I could have gotten back to my life. Like, it was such a waste of time. Now, let me tell you though, Intracept for me, because of my modic changes, because that is what was causing my pain, worth every penny. Any of you are looking to get Intracept or have had Intracept done, I'm happy to do a follow-up video, because I do have some criticisms of how Intracept markets itself. I do think it markets itself as a nearly instant fix. Like, if you watch their videos, people will talk about how they traveled for this procedure and how they popped up the next day and they felt great. And like, I will say, it's a pretty minor surgery, like in all the realms of back surgeries go. Like, they make incisions next to your spine and they do drill into, or kind of hammer into the vertebra, but they're not like whacking you open. They're not moving organs around. I mean, it's not the most, it's not that much more intense than an epidural. You're asleep for it, so it's actually better, because epidurals suck too. About a year after Intracept, I had stem cell injections. If Intracept got me from feeling like negative 1,000 to 80% of my person again, it got me to like a tolerable pain level where I could at least get in my car, take an exercise class, walk my dog, but I was still in pain, but I could do it. So like, I don't really know the right way to describe what those differences are, but there's a level of pain you can be in where you just physically cannot do certain activities, even really basic activities. And then there's a level of pain where you can do it and you just recognize that you're in pain while you do it, but like, that's okay. You'd rather be doing the activity. So if Intracept got me to about 80% of my person, then the stem cells got me, I'm probably at 95%. I think that if a regular person woke up in my body, they would be like, oh my God, what's happening? But like, when you have lived with such excruciating pain, The minor inconvenience, the other night I was taking a salsa dance class with a friend, and at the end I was like, yeah, my back's kind of, she's like, yeah, I noticed you kind of stopping and like holding your back. But it's like, yeah, yes I was. Like, so yeah, I feel like I'm not perfect. I am not 100% cured of my back pain, but at the current state I'm in, my back pain is tolerable. So I don't know what state you're in, if you are in the deepest, darkest throes of it, or if you've about reached the other side. Either way, again, my heart goes out to you, and I do hope what you can take away from this story time is that you're not alone. And sometimes it's kind of like, well, no one's ever experienced this pain like I have, but sometimes like no one knows what I'm going through. Like, no one knows how real this is. So hopefully I've given that to you, whether you're my age, younger or older. Pain is pain, and we really, none of us deserve to be going through it. And yeah, so for my plan moving forward, so what I was thinking about is I watched this video, this Ali Abdul video, which some of you may be familiar with him. He's got like 5 million subscribers. He was doing a video about like if he were to start a YouTube channel, you know, in this year. He filmed it in 2023, but his video says 2024. Very smart, Ali. You know, what is your unfair advantage? And what an interesting verbiage is that, right? Like, unfair advantage, there's nothing fair about having lived with this kind of back pain. But what I can tell you is, oh wow, I have lived through this back pain. I've gotten to the other side. I can share with you what it took, and I can share with you hopefully movement. So like I mentioned, doing Pilates and swimming was like the saving grace to my mental health during this whole period of time. And again, very expensive. So if you're paying out of pocket for PT, if you're paying out of pocket for procedures and epidurals and all this stuff, I have absorbed a lot of information from these people. And so what I'm planning to do is do some Pilates videos. I'm going to be posting some Pilates videos. Actually, my Pilates instructor in real time is also, in real life, is also a YouTuber, and she has a 28-day wall Pilates series. So I'm planning to do that series and post it on here, but it's going to be with my twist. So it'll be wall Pilates with back pain. I'm not going to call it wall Pilates for back pain because I can't guarantee that anything we do is going to help, but what I can do is show you exactly how my PT would have adjusted or kind of modified the movement for my back pain, or what I just naturally would have done to kind of help. So hopefully that'll be really helpful. I'd love to be a resource for you. And yeah, again, my heart just goes out to you. If you're watching, I'm assuming you're watching this because you've experienced back pain. So should we just collectively scream? Whew. Sometimes it feels good to let it out. Thank you for listening. Lily and I, we're out.